So good day everyone. So we are from group 2 and we are here to share about pie graphs.
So let's start with the introduction. The pie chart is one of the most used and favored chart types of all times, and it's already been around for over 200 years. It was first invented in 1801 by a businessman, engineer, and economics writer from Scotland named William Playfair. At the time, Playfair believed that making an appeal to the eye when proportion and magnitude are concerned is the best and easiest method of conveying a distinct idea. And so, the pie chart was born. However, at the time, the chart was not as popular as it is now, and it wasn't widely used at first. Playfair's first notable use of the pie chart was to compare geopolitical territories represented by circles. Next slide, please. Sometimes segmented in slices, like in the case of that of the Turkish Empire. But in spite of that, the invention was almost forgotten until the mid-century, next slide, specifically in 1858 when a French civil engineer, Charles Joseph Minard, created a divided circle map showing the amounts and proportions of butcher's meat supplied to the Paris market. Moreover, next slide, Florence Nightingale also played a role in fostering its wide use up until today. Nightingale was one of the first to use graphics to get important statistics to the reading public. Particularly, she drove home the impact of poor sanitary conditions on mortality rates during the Ottoman War by reconfiguring a pie chart varying the length rather than the width of the wedges so that the graph resembled a cock's comb. As the historian used small notes, next slide, Nightingale may not have invented statistical graphs, but she may have been the first to use them for persuading people of the need for change. As time went by, next slide please, pie charts experienced many adaptations and transformations and ended up converted into things like donut charts, exploded pie charts, and 3D pancakes. As of today, pie charts are one of the most popular data visualization formats, despite criticism from data visualization experts that say that human brain can more easily compare length than angle. However, pie charts do have some strengths. Next slide. Especially in terms of showing the relationship of a certain part to the whole, since in pie graphs, the message part to whole relationship is built right into it in an obvious way, thus enabling the audience to easily see a data comparison at a glance.
So let's proceed to the description of a pie graph. A pie graph, which is also known as a circle graph, is a form of graph that uses a circular graph to display data and information. So the graph's parts are proportional to the percentage of the total in each group. In other words, each slice of the pie is relative to the size of the category in the group as a whole. So pie charts can be used to illustrate percentages of a whole, and it represents percentages at a certain point in time. Unlike other types of graphs, such as the line graph and the bar graphs, pie graphs do not show changes over time. So next slide, please. And lastly, pie charts or the circle graph are widely used in the business world and the mass media.
So good day everyone. I will give you the definition of term. So what is the definition of term? So it is the universal meaning that is attributed to a word or group of words. So I will give you a definition of words of the following words, which is the graph, pie chart, percentage, angle, data, protractor, and compass. Next slide, please. So what is a graph? It depicts the link between lines and points and is a mathematical description of a network. So to furthermore widen your knowledge about a graph consists of some points and lines between them. The length of the lines and position of the points do not matter. So next is a pie graph, is a sort of graph that depicts data in the form of a circular graph. So the pieces of the graph are proportional to the fraction of the whole in each category. So in other words, each slice of the pie is relative to the size of the category in the group as a whole. So next is the percentage. So it is a ratio whose second term is 100. Percent means parts per 100. So it is one of the most frequent ways to present statistic is by percentage Jude. So percent simply means per 100 and the symbol used to express percentage is a percentage. Next is the data. The value of each slice is denoted in either percentage in the form of an angle. Since the pie chart is circular, the total angle that corresponds to the entire data is 360 degrees, which is equals to one entire circular rotation. Next is the data is a discrete piece of factual information that has been recorded and it is utilized for analysis. So it is the raw information from which statistics are created. Statistics are the results of the data analysis, its interpretation, and presentation. So next is the protractor, is a basic geometric instrument and it is used to measure the angles in mathematics. So muna siya ang gamit for kanang maghimo-himo ta og circle, gamit sad na siya ang protractor. So next is the compass, more accurately known as a pair of compasses, is a technical drawing instrument that can be used for inscribing circles or arcs. So gamit sad na siya especially kung mag-make ta og circle. So it can be also used as a tool to step out distance, in particular on maps. Sajud, compasses can be used for mathematics, drafting, navigation, and other purposes.
So in order to make a pie graph, first we need to know the process or steps. So you need to gather your data. The first procedure in making a pie graph is to gather your data. It allows you to analyze the problem and to effectively determine the process in solving the problem. So the next thing to do is to convert it into percentage. So you need to add up the values to get the total. After that, you need to divide the answer from the total. So for example, you're looking for the number of people which has a value of 10 and you have a total of 100. So you divide it by 100. And after that, you multiply it by 100 and then you can get your percentage. So in calculating for the angle, so a pie chart has a 360 degrees angle. In order to obtain the angle for each segment, you first need to divide your percentage with 100. After that, you multiply it with 60 degrees. And after that, you can obtain your answer. So in drawing the pie chart, first you need to have the tools, especially when you're drawing it manually. So you need to have a protractor and a compass. But since in our group we're using it digitally, so we just need an app and we'll just input the data and automatically it will just represent the data and the values.
Thank you, Mr. Paradiang. I am Andrea Baflor, and I'm going to discuss about the sample problems 1 and 2. For the sample problem number 1, the table shows the number of people for each blood type. There are 120 people. The total number of people is 200. Then, we represent the data in a form of pie graph. But before anything else, these are the questions that we need to answer and consider in making our pie graph. A. Which blood type has the highest percentage? B. How many people in this group do not have blood type O? And C. What is the percentage of people that have blood type B? Now, let's have Ms. Cotejo for the solution for example number 1.
For the solution, you need to calculate the percentage. For the formula, we need to use the number of people over the total number of people times 100 to get the percentage. For example, we have 20 for the number of people and 200 for the total number of people. So the 20 is divided by 200 to be multiplied by 100, and that's how you get the percentage. Next, please. To calculate the angle, we need the formula of percent number of people multiplied to 360 degrees and divided by 100 to get the angle. For example, 10 times 360 over 100 is equals to 36 degrees. Next, please. In here, we can see all the percentage number of people and the segment angles. For the blood type B, we will use the 34, which is the number of people. 34 over 200 is equals to, 34 over 200 times 100 is equals to 17%. For the type AB, 26 over 200 times 100 is equals to 13%. For the type O, 120 over 200 is equals to 60%. While the segment of type A, for the segment angle of type B, we have the 17 times 360 over 100 is equals to 61.2 degrees. For the type AB, we have 13 times 360 over 100 is equals to 46.8 degrees. Lastly, we have the type O. 60 times 360 over 100 is equals to 216. To check, all we have to do is just add all the percentage and the angles to get 100 for the percentage and 360 degrees for the segment angle. Next, please. To answer the given questions, we have letter A. Which blood type has the highest percentage? We have the type O, which has the greatest number of people. So 120 over 200 is equals to 0.6. And 0.6 times 100 is equals to 60%. So the answer is type O. A blood type O has the greatest percentage. Next, for the letter B, how many people in this group do not have blood type O? All we have to do is to subtract 160 to get 40%. And 40% will be multiplied by 200 and will be divided by 100 to get 80%, 80 people. And the answer is 80 people in this group do not have blood type O. Lastly, we have letter C. How many people in this group have blood type B? Just get the number of people of type B, which is the 34, and divide it by 200 to get 0.17. And 0.17 will be multiplied by 100 to get the 17%. And the answer is 17% people in this group have blood type B.
So today I'm gonna discuss the interpretation or answers of chart 1, which presents the number of people for each blood type. Based on the presentation, it shows that in blood type A, there are 20 respondents in total with a percentage of 10%. However, in the blood type B, there are 34 respondents in total with a percentage of 17%. By the blood type AB, having 26 respondents in total with a percentage of 13%, followed by the blood type O, there are 120 respondents in total with a percentage of 60%. This implies that most of the respondents have an O blood type, which has the highest percentage. However, there are 80 in total that do not have an O blood type with a percentage of 14%. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Ms. Gatchel. Moving on to our example number 2, the total area of Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Europe, and Australia is 134 million square kilometers. The table shows the area per continent. You can see here the area per continent for Asia is around 53,600,000. For Africa, it is 25,460,000, while in North America, it is around 22,780,000. In South America, it is 18,760,000. Then for Europe, it is 8,400,000. And lastly, for Australia, it is around 5 million. The total area per continent is 134 million. Then, we represent the data in a form of pie graph. But again, before anything else, these are the questions that we need to answer and consider in making our pie graph. A. What is the area percentage of Asia? B. What is the area percentage of Europe? And C. How much bigger is Africa than Europe? Let's have Miss Cotejo for the solution for example number 2.
To calculate the percentage, this time your formula will be area per continent over the total area per continent, and it will be multiplied by 100 to get the answer or the percentage. For example, 53,600,000 over 134 million times 100 is equals to 40%. Next, please. For the angle, you will need the percent number of area, then multiply it by 360 degrees, then divide it by 100 to get the answer. For example, 40 times 360 degrees over 100 is equals to 144 degrees. Next slide, please. And here, we can see all the percentage and angles for each continents. For example, for Africa, 25, I mean, 25,460,000 over 134 million times 100 is equals to 19%. For its angle, 19 times 360 over 100 is equals to 68.4 degrees. For the North America, 22,780,000 over 134 million times 100 is equals to 17%. For its angle, 17 times 360 over 100 is equals to 61.2 degrees. For the South America, 18,760,000 over 134 million times 100 is equals to 14%. For its angle, 14 times 360 over 100 is equals to 50.4 degrees. For Europe, 8,400,000 over 134 million times 100 is equals to 6%. For its angle, 6 times 360 degrees over 100 is equals to 21.6 degrees. Lastly, for Australia, we have 5 million over 100. To check it, just add all the percentage and angles. For the percentage, you just need to get 100%, while the angle, you just need to get 360 degrees. Next, please. For the sample questions, in the given questions, for letter A, what is the area percentage of Asia? We just have to divide the area per continent and the total area per continent, and then multiply it by 100 to get the 40%. For letter B, same with the letter A, we just have to divide the area per continent over the total area per continent and then multiply it by 100 to get the 6%. Lastly, for letter C, how much bigger is Africa than Europe? To get this, we just have to subtract the percentage of Africa and Europe, which is the 19 minus 6 is equals to 13%. So 13% will be multiplied to 134 million over 100 is equals to 17.4 million square kilometers. Next, please.
Thank you, Ms. Cotejo. This time I am gonna interpret the chart 2, which presents the number of the areas per continent. Based on the presentation, it shows that in Asia, there are 53,600,000 areas per continent in total with a percentage of 40%. There are 25,460,000 areas per continent in Africa with a percentage of 19%. There are 52,780,000 areas per continent in North America with a percentage of 17%. There are 18,760,000 areas per continent in South America with a percentage of 14%. There are 8,400,000 with a percentage of 6%. And in Australia, there are 5 million areas per continent with a percentage of 4%. This implies that Asia has a bigger continent among the rest. Next slide, please.
Example number 3. 1,000 people were chosen to participate in a survey. The pie chart below shows the percentage of people who got vaccinated by Pfizer, CoronaVac, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Sinopharm in a survey who reside in Cebu City. The following questions are: who got Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, CoronaVac, and Sinopharm? Next slide, please. The percentage of Moderna has 15%, the CoronaVac has 5%, Pfizer has 45%, J&J has 30%, Sinopharm has 5%, total of 100%. So the solution of this, January will explain to you. Thank you.
After gathering the data, as mentioned by Hensel, we first need to convert the percentage into the total number of people. So in order to get this, we multiply the total number of participants or the population multiplied by the percentage which was converted into decimals. For example, is for Moderna, 1,000, which is the total population of the people in the survey, is multiplied by 0.15 or 15% of the total population, which is equal to 150. Next slide, please. After solving the number of people, we can now place the answers to our table. So for Moderna, we have 150 people for the 15%. CoronaVac, we have 50 people for 5%. Pfizer is 450 for 45%. Johnson & Johnson is 300 for 30%. Sinopharm is 50 for 5%. If you add them all with a total of 1,000 people and a total percentage of 100%. Next, please. Through the table, we can now answer the questions. So how many people get vaccinated with Moderna? So based from the table, we have answered, we get that there are 150 people who got vaccinated by Moderna. For Pfizer, there are 450 people vaccinated. And for letter C, Johnson & Johnson, we have 300 people. And lastly, which vaccine has the least people that got vaccinated? Through the table, we can identify that the CoronaVac and Sinopharm are the least people who are the type of vaccines which the people has the least who got vaccinated, because it both have 50 people in for the vaccination. Next slide, please.
Thank you for that, Sir Lato. Now I'm gonna be discussing the chart 3, which presents the number of people who got vaccinated in different brands of vaccines. In the presentation, it shows that there are 150 in total with a percentage of 15% who got vaccinated to Moderna. There are 50 in total with a percentage of 5% who got vaccinated to CoronaVac. There are 450 in total with a percentage of 45% who got vaccinated to Pfizer. There are 300 in total with a percentage of 30% who got vaccinated to J and J. There are 50 in total with a percentage of 5% who got vaccinated to Sinopharm or Sinopharm. This implies that the respondents prefer Pfizer over Sinovac and Sinopharm. Next slide.
This is the last example. The pie chart below shows the percentage of the world population in each continent. The present world population is about 7 billion. This is the following questions. How many people live in Africa? How many people do not live in Asia? How many more people live in North America than in South America? Next slide, please. So the percentage of Asia has 55%, in South America has 10%, in Africa has 10%, in North America has 15%, and lastly, the Europe has 10%, the total of 100%. Lato will explain to you the solution again. Thank you.
So for the solution for sample problem number 4, first get the total population, which is 7 billion, multiplied to the percentage. So for example, is Asia. 7 billion, which is the total population, is multiplied by 0.55, which is 55% in decimal. We get 3 billion 850 million number of people. Next slide, please. After solving for the number of people, we now place it on the table. So for as I have mentioned earlier, Asia has 3,850 million people. For South America, we have 700 million, and Africa, which also have 700 million. North America has 1,050,000,000 people, and Europe has 700 million people. With a total, if you add them all, we can have a total of 7 billion people, which totals to 100%. Next slide, please. Through the answers we have gathered, or the missing variables that we have answered, we can now solve for the problem or the questions. So first is A, how many people live in Africa? Now we look at the table again, and we will have that we will have the answer that Africa has 700 million people. For B, how many people do not live in Asia then? We first get the total amount, or the population, which is 7 billion. We subtract it with 3,850,000,000, because those are the population of those are the people who live in Asia. So if we subtract them, we will get 3,150,000,000 people who do not live in Asia. Lastly is how many more people live in North America than in South America. We now get again the total population of North America, and we subtract it to the total population of South America, which will result to 350 million people. Next slide, please.
Thank you for that. Okay, this is the last chart, which presents the total population of each continent. It shows that Asia has 3,850,000,000 in total, with a percentage of 55%. In South America, there are 700 million in total with a percentage of 20%. However, in Africa, there are 700 million in total of 10%, while in North America, there are 1,050,000,000 in total with a percentage of 15%. Lastly, in Europe, there are 700 million in total with a percentage of 5%. This implies that Asia has a huge number of population in the world and Europe has the least population. Next slide.
So now we have finally come to the conclusion or generalization of our topic. In this portion, I will be giving a brief summary and, of course, our key takeaways from our discussion on pie charts. Next slide, please. Just to recap, a pie chart is a pictorial representation of data in the form of a circular chart, or pie, where the slices of the pie show the size of the data. The concept of pie slices is used to show the percentage of a particular data from the whole pie, wherein it represents the value of 100%. In addition, a list of numerical variables along with categorical variables is needed to represent data in the form of a pie chart. The arc length of each slice, and consequently the area and central angle it forms in a pie chart, is proportional to the quantity it represents. Next slide, please. In essence, making a pie chart requires 4 steps: gathering the data and variables involved, converting the given data into percentages, calculating the angle of each percentage to be represented as a slice, and finally, drawing the pie chart with the acquired information. As established, pie charts are effective forms of data presentation as they are helpful for showing the relationship of parts to the whole. However, pie charts can also have limitations. For instance, if there are too many categories, there will be a multitude of pie slices, which can make the pie slices too skinny and difficult to compare to one another. It is also easier to compare the lengths of bars instead of angles of a circle. Nevertheless, its strength lies in its simplicity and how it is easy to understand. As it represents data visually as a fractional part of a whole, it can be an effective communication tool for even an uninformed audience. Ultimately, it enables the audience to see a data comparison at a glance, to make immediate analysis, or to understand information quickly. And that concludes our discussion on pie graphs. We truly hope that you all learned something new and that this discussion can be a helpful tool for future application. Next slide, please. Here are our references for our presentation. And once again, on behalf of Group 2, thank you for listening.